In this video, we're going to go over how to use and how to access the new search module. So I'm here on the Compass login page just to show you start to finish exactly how you get to the search module, and then once we're inside, how it's used. So I've just entered my demo username and password, and I'm going to click login. And then once we log in here, we're going to land on the dashboard just because that's the default module for the permissions that I have. So we're going to go down here to this search module, and that's what I'm going to explain in this video primarily. First, I want to just quickly note that all these options here on the left are permission-based or set up based on what your agency uses and has purchased through Compass. And so if you're missing or not seeing a couple of these items, that's totally fine and normal. It just means your agency is either not using them or your user account is not set up with the permissions so that you would see them. Specifically, this new anonymous person button here as well, that might be something that you aren't seeing if your agency is not using INA and options counseling through Compass. Okay, so just getting that out of the way, everything that I'm going to go through too is pretty much summarized in this helpful little help text button right here. So if you click on that, you get to see a summary of how the internal and statewide searching works for this new module and what requirements are needed for it, just in case you do forget since we have made some changes. So I'm going to close that though and just explain. So there are a couple new filters included here, so I'm just going to step by step go through each of them, even though most of these are pretty self-explanatory. So this first search bar, this is sometimes referred to as the search anything bar, and it will search anything in the grid. So right now I don't have, like, for instance, I'm going to search on my last name, Lee, and click search, and it's going to match results based on any of these columns besides the city and county. It specifically excludes just because that could get really quite lengthy, but it's going to look for matches for in the first and last name, and you can see it's going to look within the name as well. So even though sweet doesn't start with a W, we is captured inside that last name versus here we got the we in the first name, so it's matching all these things, are bringing a match on we. If I would have typed a Compass ID, it would match on that. Same with date of birth, SSN, Medicaid ID, Medicare ID, and phone. The nice kind of thing of having this separate search anything little filter guy is that it does allow for partial matching. So some things like SSN and Medicaid ID, Medicare, all these ones, and phone, it requires the full phone, the full SSN, the full, etc., to match and bring back any results. This search anything though is a little looser. So it's probably going to be typically more used with internal searching versus statewide searching. And we'll talk about that because statewide search has a little bit more requirements than internal searching. But first, I want to continue moving through the rest of these filter options. So you saw here we had matches for anywhere we was like present in the name versus if I searched on we in the last name field, it's going to match starting at the beginning of the last name and then on. So that's why you can see there's a lot less results here. The first name starts with, that works the same as it used to. You can just put the first initial if you'd like, or you can do the full first name, a little bit of it, that's up to you. Phone is just going to require the full phone. So if you wanted, if you only knew the participant's phone number, you could type that in there and search and get results. Same with date of birth. That's going to require the full date of birth, SSN, Medicaid ID, and Medicare ID. Those are all pretty self-explanatory. So that is all those new filters. And then I just wanted to explain the difference between internal searching and statewide searching. So right now I'm technically internally searching just because this statewide checkbox isn't checked. That is the only difference. So internal searching just means it's going to bring back results or matches for anyone that my agency has served, so that that your agency has a relationship with. And it's going to include all of your INA people as well, if you are using INA and options counseling through Compass. If not, then just ignore that part. It's going to be like it was before. So and internal searching has no requirements other than, of course, you have to enter at least one piece of data. But other than that, it does not matter. There is no like minimum or you have to have this, this, and that. No, you just either search on something in here, search, or any of the other options. Okay. And then, oh, one more thing to note about internal searching is you're going to see the name in blue. That's the classic participant summary link. So if I click on this name, I can see the participant summary. Once it loads, it's just a little slow because it's a demo environment. So this one's not very full, but that's just because I added not a lot of demo data to this person. So that's the participant summary, versus if you statewide search, you're going to, so I'll just do this example. It's 11/1/1950. Click the statewide button and click search. And when you search statewide search, you're going to see the name is no longer blue. That's just because when you're statewide searching, we actually pull up the participant detail, which I think we are now calling the search detail. Let me click this detail button. Yeah, the search detail. So that's going to pull up this search detail screen where you can see, we used to have this in Compass Navigator where you can see all the details on the different types of records. You're only going to see INA and options counseling details for your own agency. You'll never see that for any other agency but yourself. Whereas, we will show you all the NIFTYs for any agency, and same with the waitlist and episodes for traditional episodes. So you can see I put some kind of play data in here. And this would work just like it does today, where you just select the episode and then you can use the go to button, or you could add a new episode from this screen, or the shortcut to go to the status. Same with the waitlist, just like it was before, only we have combined the waitlist summaries into one. Before, we had this separated into waiting, processing, and removed. Now we just made one grid and smushed everything together to make it a little bit more simple. And then on the left side here, we have all the kind of basic participant identifiers and demographic information. This is also the same as before. It just has a couple new fields like Medicare ID and SSN that we wanted to include here, since you can see it on this main screen anyway. And then this is just a little shortcut to take you to the participant record. So this new search detail, it looks different. It's, smaller, and you can still see the page and results behind you, but it has almost all the same data. So that's the new search detail. I'm going to close this and just talk a little bit more about statewide searching. So statewide searching, the main difference that is important and to understand is that previously you only had to search on the last name and first initial. Now you'll need a third piece of data. So this is to protect the participants' privacy, since being only requiring last name and first initial really opens up the search for statewide searching, and we wanted to be more in line with industry standards and be up to date with protecting the participants, HIPAA-wise. And so you're going to need to always enter either the full exact Medicaid ID or last name, first initial, and one more piece of data. And so when I say one more piece of data, that's because it can be any of these options right here. So you could do last name, first name, phone. You could do last name, first name, date of birth, last name, first name, SSN, and so on, with Medicaid ID and Medicare ID as well. And so again, that information is in this help little icon right here, explain. Or let's say I tried to search statewide without it, you're just going to get a little error that's saying, hey, this requires last name, first initial, and a third piece of criteria, or you can search on Medicaid ID alone. So that's just, a little reminder in case you do forget what the new statewide search requires. And so I'm just going to show you how you can also search alone on Medicaid ID and you'll get the results. Well, I guess I should reset it so you can actually see this work. So I'm going to click statewide, enter Medicaid ID, click search, and I can still get a result. So that's really the main difference. Otherwise, most things should really be the same. Same with the new person functionality. You still have to statewide search before you can add a new person, but then you will be able to click the new person button. Again, what you see here for options is dependent on what your agency participates in. Some agencies don't use NIFTY, some might not use Compass's INA and option counseling piece, but most should have access and set up to be adding waitlist people and the traditional person episodes for, for like a waiver episode. And if you click it, then you'll see the ad pop up just like we had before, and it'll auto populate read only with anything that you had previously searched on. So if I had searched on the last name and first name, those guys would be shown here read only as well. But they're editable because I didn't search on them yet. So that's that. And I think that's it for statewide search and internal searching. Thank you for watching.